Hi, guys, and welcome back to Full-On, your Fulham-centric footballing podcast. Today, I have with me Drew and Ash. No Mozza today. He is enjoying himself thoroughly at Download Festival. Uh, we have a bunch of topics to go over today. We'll start with our usual in the news. What we have at the moment is our retention list has been published by the club. We no real surprises there. It's sad to see Marek Rodak leave, though. What are your thoughts on that, boys?
Well, I think we had this discussion a couple of weeks ago, didn't we, on the pod, where it's not really a surprise that he's been released. I think for him, it's probably the best thing. He's been a great servant for the club. He's been at Fulham for 12 years, since he was a kid. I think he deserves to go and play some actual football. He's too good of a goalkeeper to be sat on our bench. And whenever we've needed him, he's been a great servant for us. He's done well for us. The two times we got relegated, he was playing in the Championship. There was no complaints of him. I think he deserves to go play some football. If that's in England, somewhere in the Championship, maybe lower league, Prem, who knows? It's not a massive shock. Just wish him the best.
Yeah, the biggest link I've seen to him so far has been Sheffield United, which could be an interesting move for him. The Sheffield United guys at Sheffield United Way were quite excited and wanted to hear my thoughts on Rodak, and I had nothing but compliments to give. Drew, your thoughts on the Rodak situation?
Not surprised that he's been released. Stuck with us when times were hard. Always seemed to me to lack the confidence of a top keeper. But he'll do someone proud in the Championship. I can see why Sheffield United might be looking at him, because obviously they are facing significant challenges in terms of them being relegated and retaining players. But
Of
no,
course.
nothing but positive and best wishes for Marek, who's been a credit to us and a credit to himself, really.
Yep. Additionally, we noticed that Bobby Decordova-Reid had not yet made a decision on his contract offer. That was in the retention list, along with Willian, the same. Both been offered 2-year deals. We'll see whether or not either of them pick that up. 2 years for Willian is interesting, but it's something to discuss. Gentlemen, thoughts on Bobby? Do you think he's just waiting to come back from his holidays? Is he with the Jamaica squad for the Copper?
I'm not quite sure what the situation is with Bobby. I've heard rumours that he wants more guaranteed playing time. Whereas we discussed previously, he's a bit of a jack of all trades across the midfield, probably never getting to play in what he believes is his best position. The challenge for him is, though, that as I've said previously on this podcast, Silver's talked about him being tactically perfect. Silver rates him very highly, which is why he's been offered a 2-year deal. Really, it's a matter for Bobby now. I mean, he's got to ask himself, does he want to play more regularly? If he does, then he's going to leave Fulham. But it may be he's just waiting until after all the summer competitions are over. But I'm not entirely sure. And regards Willian, well, I mean, I think I've said on this podcast before, the situation may be taken away from us. I think Willian, I think he may well move on. Not that I want him to go, but out of the two of them, I'd probably be. I'm 50-50 on whether they'll both stay. I mean, we clearly want them to stay, but I can't say that I'm convinced both will.
Yeah, it's just one of those really. Stay or go. We'll wish them our best. They've both been great servants to the club. Even Willian, in his shorter tenure, has proven his quality for someone that we got expecting nothing, essentially. Um, with that, something else that the club recently published is that the season tickets did go on general sale as of, I believe it was earlier today, which is the 14th. They were sold out, but we obviously noticed that there was a significant price hike in the season tickets, which meant people on the waiting list chose not to progress. We're not going into it with too much detail because I think the Fulham ticket situation is probably a podcast within itself. But what are your thoughts, gentlemen, on the season ticket situation?
I'm shocked that they went on to general sale. There was rumours of about 2,000 season tickets cut this year, down from 17,000 to 15,000.
Doesn't
The
surprise
club
me.
were adamant. The club were adamant that it was with line with the usual sort of drop off um, in sales and stuff like that, and the usual retention of season tickets. I think that I do know a couple of people personally that were on that wait list who then got offered season tickets, but the only season tickets that were available were quite expensive and in the Riverside stand, and they didn't really want those, or slash couldn't afford them, which is understandable. When I looked a couple of days ago, there wasn't many left anyway on that sort of general season ticket scale. Most of the tickets that were still left on sale for season tickets were your match day premium tickets that were being sold on 2 and 3 year terms. So I'm not so shocked to see that they finally sold out. As you say, anyone who's followed any of us on Twitter probably has seen rants and moaning about ticket prices and stuff, and we could do a whole show on the way that Fulham priced their tickets. But it's good that they've sold out now. But I think that it's a bit of a concern that they even went on general sale in the first place. But it is what it is with that.
Yeah, to reduce the number of tickets and then it also go on general sale shows a lot from the club's pricing point, in that even if you reduce the number, they're still not necessarily wanted as much. The club will obviously argue that, well, they sold out, so they clearly were wanted, but we all know how that works. Drew, anything to add?
From the club's point of view, it's gone exactly how they wanted it to go. They're trying to change the socio-economic makeup of their fan base. They reduce the number of season tickets. They increase the prices. A lot of fans I've come across haven't been able to renew because it involves changing circumstances financially, or, for example, they've got children who have grown up and now want to go, and instead of taking one, taking two becomes much more fiscally disadvantageous. So what the club have done, reduce the season tickets, increase the prices. They're not worried about them going on general sale because, as you've already pointed out, they've sold out. And the tickets that they have sold out are the ones that were left, and the ones that were left were the premium ones, and that's what the club's after. So from the club's point of view, it's worked perfectly. But from the fans' perspective and the spirit of the club, bearing in mind, we've still got fans who are attending the club that stopped us becoming Fulham Park Rangers.
Yep.
It's quite frankly a kick in the face.
I completely agree, and I think we'll leave it at that message, because if we go into it too much, we will be ranting on for a while. Other bits in the news outside of the price hikes is that we've had only the typical resurgence of transfers in, with nothing solid. Andre, the centre mid from Brazil, has been linked, but again, nothing solid. But there has been solid confirmation of players going out of the club, in that Bayern Munich are back in full Paulinia and playing silly games again with us. Gentlemen, your thoughts on the Paulinia situation? I think we're all in agreement that it's likely he'll go. It's just whether or not, when, and how.
Fulham's point of view, I can understand exactly where they're coming from. They agreed a deal in principle last season. A price was agreed. Fulham's position is that's the price. You agreed it once. You pay it, you can have him. I don't see the problem with that. Okay, he's a year older, but he's a year more experienced. He's not particularly got a significant injury record. He's still one of the best defensive midfielders in the Premier League. He will no doubt strengthen their squad. What concerns me is that this drags on through the summer. Now, I'm not sure it's going to be resolved until after the European Championships, but every one of us in this podcast and every Fulham fan at Craven Cottage dreads the last week of August, because, I mean, AJ, you've talked about we could do a whole podcast on Fulham ticket prices. I think we could do probably two on Fulham transfer windows. They are
Yeah,
nothing short of, well, we won't. I mean, I don't want to get bleeped out. I agree he's going to go. I just want it to be sooner rather than later. I don't bear any ill will. I think he's a fabulous player. I think he deserves to be playing Champions League football. But this cannot be allowed to drag on until the last week of August. If he's going to go, he's got to go.
I think two things to mention there is one, you did say that he was a year older, but a year's more experienced. He also signed a new contract immediately after the Bayern collapse previously, which means that he's now still got, I think it's 4 or 5 years remaining on his deal. So realistically, we could ask for a lot more money, but we're not. So the fact that Bayern are still playing these silly games with us, it just shows the sort of caliber of club that they are, really.
Just coming
Which
back at you, AJ, on that. The one thing that we haven't got in there that none of us have heard about is a release clause.
there isn't one. Uh, we had Tony Khan, who doesn't speak up very often about Fulham. He's too busy with wrestling, but when he does speak up about Fulham, it's normally to shut some nonsense up, and he shutted some nonsense up about a Paulinho release clause on both occasions that it was brought up.
But the point I was about to make, and this ties into the point I think Ash made on our last episode about Tosin, about Fulham essentially allowing money to walk out the door. Paulinho is probably at his most economically valuable to Fulham right now. So if we are going to sell him, it probably needs to be this summer, so we can.
Subject to him obviously winning the Euros, that would be the only time that I think would get more money for him. But either way, that's this summer.
Yeah, I beg to differ. I don't think it's going to raise it significantly higher. I think that, I mean, we were all agreed on the last occasion the frustration with Fulham, and I know Ash took the mic out of me for referring to the Fulham Brain Trust, but we're all agreed that we haven't maximised the economic value of players, especially when we're selling them. And if we are going to do that, then in my view, with Paulinho specifically, we have to sell him this summer. But as you've already pointed out, AJ, there's no release clause. He signed a new deal. I mean, those that follow me on Twitter can see what I've put out about Bayern. I mean, they pay it or they don't get him. Simple as that.
Yeah, I think it's standards. We've got an asking price that's 60 million euros. I think that's a fair asking price. Opposition fans that watch this will think we're lunatics for asking that, but I don't think it's unfair to ask that amount of money. And frankly, if they don't pay it, if he has an excellent Euros and actually plays often, and Portugal get far or even win the tournament, we could see a bidding war between Premier League clubs that are in need of a defensive midfielder, like the likes of Manchester United, that could be in for him. Yes, United aren't currently playing Champions League football, but again, it's one of those clubs that you don't really say no to. I know that they're not the club they used to be, but I think as a Portuguese player, and as someone that's played in England, I don't think he would decline a Manchester United move either. I'd prefer him playing in Germany so that I don't have to see him against us. But that's just a personal preference. Ash, any comments on the situation? And I think it also allows us to change the topic a little bit.
Well, firstly, I'm going to say that just talking about the actual transfer itself before I go into what I want to speak about is that none of us, no Fulham fan, begrudges Zhao wanting to play Champions League football. He's been an outstanding player for Fulham. He's clearly a cut above, you know, Fulham. We're not all head in the sand to, who we are as a football club, what we are as a football club. We all appreciate when we get good players through the door, when they prove that they deserve to play at a higher level, that they should be allowed to go do that. The only thing we all ever ask is that, as Drew has pointed out, that we maximise what we can get from those players. And one of the things that we've had this conversation over the last week about continuously is there will be fans of opposition clubs that will scoff at the fact that Fulham are saying they want £60 million for João Paulinho. Firstly, I would love to see the club actually show a backbone and stick to that. Whether or not we do or not is a different thing. Secondly, again, I agree with Drew. I want the transfer done sooner rather than later. There needs to be a deadline put in place. Fulham need to turn around and say that if there's no deal in place with João with 2 weeks left of the transfer window, he's not for sale, because it doesn't give us enough time to replace him with a quality player that we have. We saw this last summer with Bayern Munich, where they came in last minute and they gave Fulham effectively 12 hours to find a replacement. Clubs were aware of Fulham's situation, so they were quoting ridiculous fees for players because they knew we were desperate to try and replace João because we wanted the money that we were going to get for him. As I say, Fulham saying we want 60 million, that's his value to Fulham. It may not be his value to Bayern Munich, but that's his value to Fulham. And I'd love to see Tony and the club actually show a bit of backbone and stick to that, because as far as I'm concerned, we hold all the cards with this transfer. He's
Absolutely.
proved last year that he's a professional. He's not going to throw his toys out of his pram and refuse to play. He then signed a new contract last year, but we have a player with 4 years left on the contract who is in the prime of his career. We don't have to sell. We're lucky that we're not one of these clubs in the Premier League that have to sell this summer in order to spend. So, we do literally hold all the cards. So I would really, really like to see the club actually show a bit of backbone. And, if they are going to sell João, to not do it on the cheap and quickly. I'd rather them try to maximise as much as they can, but also have the backbone to say that if we don't have enough time to replace him, he won't be for sale. It's as simple as that. No, that's my only thing about the actual transfer itself before I start getting to talk about, the big club stuff. But that's my feeling on João as the transfer.
Yeah, I don't think the latter will happen. I think he'll be available for sale the entirety of the window, and it might go down to the last minute. But I think we'll continue with the same mentality we had last summer, in that if we can't find a replacement, you won't have him, regardless of what you've agreed with him, or whether or not we've agreed a price, or whether he's there taking pictures in your shirt. It does not matter. If we cannot find a replacement, tough luck. And I think that's more inclination for Bayern to get this wrapped up quickly. Bayern wanted this wrapped up before the start of the Euros, which obviously, as we're recording this, is today. Germany versus Scotland play in about 20 minutes' time. So it's an interesting one. They're clearly not going to get it done before the start of the Euros like they wanted to, but then they shouldn't put ridiculous bids in, quite frankly. They should have at least started the bidding at what was the last agreed price and gone from there, because they would have actually got somewhere. But anywho, on to talking about those big clubs and about what they are like and their egotistical values. I'd say it's a combination of both the club and the fans, but I know you had a lot to say on the topic, Ash, so I'll let you lead.
Well, I want to make this point because anyone who's followed me this week on Twitter would have seen that I probably annoyed an awful lot of Germans this week because of my constant argument about João. And the way that they seem to just think that, oh, it's his dream move, so we should just get him. Now, my problem with this is that we see it all the time. We, as a football club, as a group of fans, I know all three of us do. I know Mozza does as well, but obviously he's not here to have this discussion.
Yep.
We know our standing in the pecking order. We know who we are, right? We know that we are not the club that world class players finish at. They're the ones that they use as a stepping stone to go out. We know who we are with that, right?
Yep.
And we know that Bayern Munich know that they are one of the ends of the food chain, not the middleman of the food chain. So, the problem we have is that Bayern Munich fans, and I'm going to call out Bayern Munich fans as a whole. There are other football clubs that have this issue, but Bayern Munich definitely have it in Germany. Is that they've got way too comfortable, especially in Germany, because they are the big money makers in Germany, and the rest of as much as their food chain works in Germany, they are still the big boys with the money. Other clubs pander to them an awful lot, and they get an awful lot of good quality players for cheap from other German clubs because they bully boy their way into signing players. This has been evident this week, and we've seen it an awful lot this week from fans on Twitter, especially that say stuff like, "Or you should just down tools and refuse to train." Uh, he should just not play. He should just do this. Why are we messing around and even offering Fulham big money when we are a Champions League team and obviously he wants to come here? My problem with egotism in football is quite simple. It's not a case of big club get what big club want. It's a case of big club still have to be respectful to the smaller club, in our case, us. Big club have to be respectful for the player and say that if we value as much as we are claiming that we value you, we're
Yeah.
going to offer actual money for you. And if your club had turned around and said to us that we're going to show a bit of backbone and this is how much money we want for him, and this is his value to us, and if you don't meet that value, he's not for sale, to then not put in two or three quite frankly laughable bids in, thinking that Fulham are going to pander to the fact that they've offered some money that other German clubs might have done. You know,
Yeah,
one
possibly.
of the one of the things I have noticed this week is that, and it's been kind of funny to see, is that there seems to be this idealism around him that because he turned around last year and said that playing for a club like Bayern Munich is his dream, that Bayern Munich fans seem to think that all he wants to do is play football for Bayern Munich. Now he said that last summer, and then came back and had an absolutely outstanding season for us. And it may well be because he's putting himself in the shop window for a move. That's absolutely fine by me. I don't care if players come to Fulham because they want to play for bigger clubs and they put in all the effort and they have 2 seasons like Giles had for us. And like I said, and I've said it, we've all said it. None of us begrudge Giles the move. If a big club come in for Giles, none of us begrudge him the move. In fact, he'll go with a thank you very much. It's been an absolute joy to watch you play, like we all did with Moussa Dembele when he went to Tottenham. We all knew he was a step above any Fulham player that we'd all
He
seen.
was he was a
You
step
couldn't
above
argue.
Tottenham.
Well,
Yeah,
he
he
was, but
was.
you couldn't. But at the time, Tottenham were in the Champions League, and you couldn't argue him then going to play that football. Um, my problem with the egotism around fans, and it's not necessarily the clubs because we don't know the inside the club, but especially big club fans, is that they often forget that the world doesn't revolve around them. The football world doesn't revolve around them. And one things that we've seen is there's an awful lot of media outlets. There's an awful lot of people who are so-called football journalists. Some might say big club mouthpieces. Me, basically, this week.
Agent mouthpieces, absolutely.
Yeah, that will reiterate and reiterate and tweet and retweet and retweet the same story over and over again, just slightly worded differently, because they know it causes unrest in relationships.
You just got to look at the Tosin situation in that regards. He was basically Fabrizio's best pal for the best part of a few weeks while trying to get this move to either Newcastle or Chelsea. He was a free transfer. He was let go and he signed for a new club. That will happen probably 200 times this transfer window, and it will not be mentioned by any top journalist because it won't matter because they're a free transfer. So why did Tosin get all of that build up for absolutely no reason? It's not like a huge sum of money was exchanged for it. It's not like it was a surprise to anyone that he was looking at bigger clubs. Like the mouthpieces that are now on specific, especially on social media, those mouthpieces that are now being used for agents to convey what they want when they want it is pathetic, in my opinion. And it brings me on to another topic in regards to transfers that I'm strongly against, but seems to be creeping into the sport more and more, is that clubs, and especially big clubs, are agreeing personal terms before contacting clubs about a transfer, meaning that they're trying to get players to act up or refuse to play or even hand in transfer requests in in an attempt to try and get players on a cheap. And realistically, when you are the biggest powerhouses in the world, just pay the money.
Yeah, well, we saw it this week, didn't we? We saw it this week. Florian Plattenberg tweeted yesterday that, in fact, he tweeted yesterday that it's understood that João Palhinha remains completely optimistic about joining Bayern Munich. Negotiations between him and the club had gone well, and he'd even sat down and had talks with company. Now, my problem with that is that, as you say, there seems to be a thing creeping in. There is such a thing still as tapping players up. You're not legally allowed to sit down and have conversations with footballers around signing for you as a football club unless, I believe the rule is if they have 1 year left on their contract and you're not in the same country as them, you can talk to them. And if there's 6 months left on their contract and you're in the same country, you can talk to them. So either that's complete rubbish and none of those conversations have happened at all, and it's just yet more hearsay to put pressure on or to, cause unrest between fan bases or to excite the Bayern fans, because we also know that part of that is that, especially with the way that Twitter works these days, that these guys farm these tweets and they'll put them out loads and loads and loads because they get loads of attention and they get money for it. But my problem is, as you say with that, is that effectively what they're doing there is tapping players up.
Yeah, and it's unfortunately not uncommon. And as much as it's supposed to be illegal, a lot of them do it through agents. So then it's not tapping players up, which is just an absurdity. Their agents are representatives of them. It should be the same. It should be treated the same legally. And I know we've got a lawyer present. I don't know how good you are with football law, Drew, and whether or not you have too much ins and outs on tapping up and the legality of it, but it's clear that it's happening.
Well, we've kind of conflated two topics here because we moved on from Ash's opening about bigger clubs and their attitude towards smaller clubs.
Of course.
I don't have. I mean, I totally understand where Ash is coming from, and some of the comments that have been directed towards Fulham fans by fans of Bayern this week on Twitter have been at best condescending, and at worst have been both ignorant and arrogant. I mean, it may be, I don't want to label all Germans as arrogant, and bear in mind they are conversing in English, not their first language. But Bayern, from what I understand of the Bundesliga, are hated pretty much by every other team in Bundesliga for good reason. In terms of the attitude of bigger clubs, I mean, we all witnessed the near birth of the Super League last season. It's money orientated. The fans, they're so used to success. I mean, it is what it is. I understand both of your points about certain people on Twitter, certain journalists, but we see that in other areas as well. I'm sure, I mean, you two gents are both worldly wise. We see client journalists in other fields, politics being the most obvious one. They will repeat the mantra of whichever political party they have access to. It's the same with sports journalists, and AJ, as you pointed out, with the monetization of social media, they're going to do it more and more. In terms, the one that's really annoyed me, and going on to the tapping up point, is the issue of Jared Branthwaite at Everton.
Okay.
Yeah. Now Everton, I mean, I have no particular affinity or hostility towards Everton. I know that they're a historic club. They've got proper. Ironically enough, most of the fans that support Everton actually live in Liverpool and around. It's quite strange when you go up there. But all three of us, and I'm sure Mozza has as well, because I'm sure he's still downloading and plugged in while he's at the Download Festival, have heard about Everton's problems with the failed ownership takeover. We're all aware of their fabulous new stadium being built at Bramley Moor Dock. We're also aware that they're in financial trouble. So what did Man United come along and do? Tap up their most valuable asset. Yeah, agree personal terms, which goes to what you were saying, AJ, and are now refusing to meet Everton's valuation of him, which I believe is somewhere in the region of about £70 million.
Yeah, 73, I think they said they want minimum.
70,
Yeah.
apologies,
I think
apologies,
they
Ash.
put in an initial offer of 35.
I mean, that sickens me more than what Bayern are trying to do to us, because Everton are having difficulties. Everton have escaped relegation a couple of times. Everton have got more financial troubles than us. As you both pointed out, we're in a much stronger position with Palhinha. Yeah, it's not so much tapping up, because they already all agreed a deal with him last summer.
But that
But what?
was contact with the player directly before contact with the club. So
Yeah, but the point I'm saying is, I mean, effectively they've got a deal in place. But with Branthwaite, Manchester United have skipped the Toffees and gone. It seems to me have gone straight to the player. But there
Yeah,
doesn't seem, and to go back to your point, AJ, there doesn't seem to be any sanction for that. You know,
no.
there's no fine, there's no points deduction. And if I was an Everton fan, and I appreciate this is a Fulham centric podcast, but if I was an Everton fan, and the reason I made the connection is because it does tie in what Bayern are doing to Palhinha at the moment, I'd be furious, and I'd be wanting my club to make a formal complaint to the Premier League, because what you're doing is you're inducing a player to breach his contract with his employer.
yeah,
You know, and
I completely agree.
that is definitely that would definitely invite legal repercussions. But until someone makes a stand, I'm cynical, okay, and as we all know, I work in the law, but there's a lot of money involved here, and I'm not sure there's going to be any difference.
Well, I want to add something to that Braithwaite thing because I feel
I think it's
so
Branthwaite,
deeply.
Ash, not
Branthwaite,
Braithwaite.
sorry, sorry, Branthwaite. I
Telling the wrong
apologise.
player.
I'm about to about to say something really nice and then mess up. No, basically, I feel really sorry for Everton here because not only is he their best asset, right? But Everton as a football club are being told that they have to sell players before they can buy players because they're £800 million in debt. Yet a football club like Man United, Man United, who are a football club who are over 1 billion in debt, because of their stature, are allowed to come in and try steal that asset because they're not breaking FFP rules. Now, this is again, I don't want to open a can of worms with FFP and moan about it because we could be here for years, and that's not what not what we're trying to do in this episode. But my biggest issue with that Braithwaite thing uh, is that Everton are a club that are in debt. They're being forced to sell their best asset to a club that are even in more debt, but are allowed to spend money. It's an absolute joke, and it's another thing with the FFP. And I really do feel for Everton because I really like him as a player. We had this discussion when we were talking about the England squad and who should be in it for the Euros this year, and it's such a shame that he didn't get picked. But you know, it's an absolute travesty in football, and this goes back to the egotism with big football clubs because this is when you look at it and you see those clubs that go, well, it doesn't matter that we're £1 billion in debt. We're Man United. We'll do what the hell we want, and it doesn't matter that Everton in this situation, as much as they are, Premier League stronghold and been in the Premier League forever, they're a smaller club than us. They're a smaller club in stature. They're in debt. Because they happen to be a smaller club, the FA have already taken action against them because they're in debt. So we'll take advantage of that situation. It's an absolute joke. And this is where I feel for Everton fans because Everton been punished. They got punished this year with a points deduction. They got threatened with another one. I think they still have another one potentially over their heads going into next season if they don't sell a load of players. So they've already had the FA. Yeah, so they've already had the FA sort of make them show their cards in terms of, you you have to sell players or you're going to get a points deduction. And what do Everton do in this situation? Because their options now are to sell their best assets to get in line with FFP or to not sell their best assets and then face a points deduction and then that will hit onto their season. And it's an absolute joke going into that. And this goes
Yeah.
into the big club egotism thing because Man United are a club that know this and will take advantage of this. It's the same
Yeah,
as Paulinho and Bayern Munich, that they're a bigger club that know that they have the ability to turn a player's head and therefore will take a bit of advantage of that. So, like, Everton fans have my full and utter, sympathy because it's an absolute joke and it's yet another proof that where FFP does not help any club other than the big few because it's not fair that football finances should work that way.
yeah, but
Ash, the only thing I would say about that, and from a sympathy point of view, I'm completely on your side. I mean, Everton have got their best asset, but you put it down to egotism and the arrogance of the bigger clubs. I think you're being wonderfully naive about it. I think this is just sharp business practice. I think that the people that run Man United know that Everton are vulnerable financially, and they
It
are
can be
seeking.
both.
It can be both, but this happens all the time in the
Yeah.
business world. You get bigger fish trying to eat smaller fish, and I think ultimately that's what it is. What's a real
Yeah.
shame though, from Branthwaite's point of view, he's really developing at Everton, and I don't care what you say. Manchester United have got the potential to go into a complete meltdown, after losing 3 games. And so, bearing in mind he's 21, you do wonder whether he'd be better off staying at Everton if he can, and then developing in a safer environment that he knows better, and then say move him when he's 23, 24. But I digress. That's the only point I wish to make about that. But yeah, Ash, I can see where you're coming from, and I genuinely, if any Toffees are watching this, we genuinely do feel sorry for you, and that is, we're not patronising you.
No, we do.
No, 100%.
There's also the possibility that they hold off for the money they want for him, miss the deadline to sell, get stuck with a points deduction, but do get the money that they want for him and can potentially reinvest it and make little of the points deduction in the league upcoming. That's a risky gamble, but it's one that they could do if they really didn't want to take the heat on losing Branthwaite for such a
To
small
be
fee.
fair to them, AJ, they've already survived 1 points deduction, and if any
Exactly.
manager's going to get them through it, it's Dyche. I mean,
Yep.
you
Yeah,
can say what
100%.
you can say what you want about Dyche, but he's a leader of men, and he knows how to tough things out. Okay, he may not play expansive football, and I can't say hand on heart that I want to watch a season of it. But for where Everton are now, you've got to believe with the new stadium coming, there are better days ahead. I mean, I would like to see them digging their heels. If they value Branthwaite at 70 million, then United pay it or United do one. Simple as that.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's fair. I also think it's fair to say that this isn't necessarily a thing to do with the United fans. I'm sure there are some that are egotistical and are saying that they should just let the move happen for 35 million, etc., like we've seen with the Bayern fans. But equally, I think a lot of United fans know the situation their club is in regards to their debt and the fact that their owners keep writing off more and more debt into the club's name, and obviously that brings on a whole different conversation in regards to the Glazers. But back onto Branthwaite, as you said, Ash, it was sad to see him not picked for the Euros. The squads have been finalised now, and I think it's about time we pick who's going to win the Euros.
Well, we're going to look at the groups at least, aren't we? I don't
We're
think we're
going.
going to. I don't think.
We will do it progressively, yes. We'll go through the groups one by one. We'll decide first, second, and third in each group, and we will go from there into the round of 16 and onwards until we finally decided who we agree is going to be a winner. To begin with, we've got Group A, the group that will be playing or is playing at the moment. Germany, Scotland, Hungary, and Switzerland. I will let Drew lead on this one. What order do you think this group will be?
Got to pick the Germans to come out on top, haven't you? And then it's pretty much a toss up. I can't say that I am an expert on either of the makeups of the squads of the Hungarians or the Swiss. As much as I would love to say the Sweaties are going to come in second, I can't see it. And as for who qualifies from the group, Germany top, Hungary, Switzerland, Scotland.
And Ash, yourself?
No, that's the order I have it in. Germany are too strong for all three of those teams in that group. You know, as someone who has Scottish blood and Scottish family,
Yep.
I take absolute joy in saying they're going to come bottom of that group. Um, uh, I think that Hungary are probably just a bit stronger than Switzerland. So for me, yeah, it would be Germany, Hungary, Switzerland, Scotland.
See, I had Germany, Switzerland, Scotland, Hungary. I don't. I think it'll be close. I think it'll probably be third and fourth place, both on 1 point or something like that, where they draw against each other and don't win any other games. With Switzerland being the second strongest in the group. But in saying that, Hungary have a few players that have suddenly emerged. Liverpool's, I'm not going to butcher the name, but we know the central midfielder that plays for Liverpool. I'm happy to go with you guys on this. So we've gone Germany, Switzerland, Hungary, Scotland, or was it Hungary, Switzerland, Scotland?
Hungary, Switzerland.
Hungary, Switzerland, Scotland. Great. So moving on to Group B, then we have quite a strong group and arguably the group of death. We've got Spain, Croatia, Italy, and Albania. As the resident Italian, I'll lead on this. I think it's going to be Italy, Croatia, Spain, and then Albania.
I agree with you. I agree with you regards Italy. Croatians always seem to do, unless my memory's playing tricks on me. Croatians always seem to do well, or Croatia, sorry, always
Yeah,
seems to do well at tournaments, and they have had some fabulous players. And they really
yeah,
have. Spain, they went through their period where, I mean, I'm older than you two, but I remember they were always everyone's dark horses for cup competitions and never did anything. And of course, then they burst through with the Iniesta and Xavi midfield.
yep,
But I think they might be rebuilding at the moment. So Albania definitely last. For
yep.
me, Italy first. I think a lot turns on the Croatia-Spain game.
Yeah, I think
I
so too.
think I think that could be very much very much a decider,
I
and you
see.
can flip a coin.
You say it's the decider. What I think's likely is that Italy will top the group, and then you will have Croatia and Spain on the same points, and it will go down to goal difference. In which case, I think Croatia would probably put more past Albania than Spain will, just naturally.
I don't know. I genuinely don't know. It could be. It could be. It wouldn't surprise me to see the Croatians go through. But I've got no strong feelings either way. I think they might just cancel each other out.
Ash, you're the decider then.
Well, I, as you rightly called it, this is the group of death. This is the hardest group to sort of to guess. Albania definitely going to finish bottom. I also agree that Italy will probably win the group. So it is between Spain and Croatia. And I think if we were recording this on Monday after the Spain Croatia game that's on Saturday, I'd confidently be able to say which one of those two is going to finish higher. And I genuinely believe whoever wins that game will probably finish second in the group. I have just got a sneaky feeling that Spain are really sort of in and out of form. And they seem to have a couple of really good results and a couple of bad ones. So I really don't know what Spain is going to turn up here to make a strong enough, make a strong enough thing. But I think um, Croatia have had a strong couple of warm up games, but Spain, I can't. I keep going back to Spain and thinking,
Let, let's
they
remember that third place can still qualify for the groups for the knockout stages as the best third place team. So it's not impossible that both Croatia and Spain go through. Um, so consider that when you are making your selection. I just think Croatia will be slightly better than Spain. I think they'll probably be on even points, personally.
I'm happy to go with what you guys say in terms of order. With that, for me, I think there's too many variants of what Spain turn up at this tournament.
Absolutely.
Um,
Yeah, well,
so I think
we've
I'm
said
happy to
it's
go with.
we've said it's the most difficult group. We've said Italy, Croatia, Spain, and then Albania. Moving on to Group C, we have England's group. We have England, Serbia, Denmark, and Slovenia. I think it's quite obvious we're all in.
Slovenia.
Yeah, Slovenia.
Is that how you pronounce it? I always thought it was Slovenia.
Oh, either or. I've probably butchered that. If it's Slovenia, I do apologise. There you go. I thought it was Slovenia. Either or.
Oh,
I apologise to any Slovenians that may be watching. I probably butchered that too. In any regards, England
there
winning the
goes our
group.
international audience. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
England winning the group.
No,
Okay, interesting. Then
no,
let's hear you.
I don't.
Let's hear your thoughts
I,
first, then, Ash.
right, I am the Fulham fan in me. This is a Fulham fan in me knows that things never go smooth, right?
Yep.
So I can see England having a really hard game on Sunday against Serbia. Uh, maybe not win. I can see Serbia maybe getting a draw.
Okay.
My personal feeling in the group is that it'll be England and Serbia who go through.
Okay.
I Slovenia are not as strong, and Denmark are a bit. Again, they're really hit and miss, but I don't think they're as good as they have been in previous tournaments. But they're Denmark, and they always turn up at tournaments. Who knows? I just personally think it's going to be Serbia and England that come out of the group. And I
Okay.
just got a sneaky feeling, mainly because of a certain Serbian up front, that we
Vlahovic,
might
yeah.
with with the it won't go that smoothly for England. So I got a funny feeling that maybe England don't get a result against Serbia, but still qualify. So I'm going to
Okay.
go Serbia, England, and then Denmark and Slovenia. But that's just my own personal Fulhamness being that it won't go as smooth as it should do.
I think Serbia will be strong as well. I think they could potentially nick a result against us on Sunday. I don't think they'll win, though. I think it will either be a draw or an England win. But if they do nick a result, I think that draw would help them carry that second place mantle. And I think it'd be England, Serbia, Denmark, Slovenia, Slovakia. It's not Slovakia.
That's definitely not
That's later
Slovakia. That's
on.
definitely not
That's later on.
Slovakia.
All the slows.
Yeah.
Drew and yourself.
Well, me and myself, I'm going to go with England because got to back the home team. Probably Serbia, although the Danes do have some talent.
Yes,
They
they
do
do.
have some talent. And if it goes right for them, they're more than capable of beating Serbia. But I just think Serbia just might be a little bit more experienced, a
Yeah,
bit stronger all the way around.
Serbia are very similar to us in terms
Yeah,
of
that's
England
what,
in that they're
and
top heavy.
yeah, that's what makes me swing towards them. But I think that, like I say, I think the Danes are more than capable of giving anyone a game, and it would not surprise me if they did qualify. But I've got to take England. Slovenia, sorry about this, but no, I can't see them finishing anywhere other than fourth.
Well,
Having said that, they'll now beat England and win the whole thing.
maybe. Moving on to Group D, another strong group in the Netherlands, France, Poland, and Austria. I actually think it's relatively straightforward, but it's highly dependent on what Netherlands side turns up. I think it's safe to say that we all agree France is topping the group.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. I then would have had the Netherlands next. Thoughts?
Yeah, no, agree.
Don't disagree with that, but
I think
AJ,
it
you've already
depends what
alluded to the
Netherlands.
fact, which Netherlands team will turn up. I mean, we've seen some epic meltdowns from the national
Yep.
team over the years. So, yeah, I mean, but you've got to fancy them being in the top two.
Yeah, in this group, it's one of those Netherlands either finish second comfortably or they finish bottom of the group. It's I think there's no in between.
Yeah.
I think it's if Poland and Austria both show up, then it could be curtains for the Netherlands. But speaking of Poland and Austria, I think it's probably safe to say Austria maybe finish third.
I don't know. I don't know. To be honest with you, I'm not going to sit here and claim to be an expert in both the Polish and Austrian national teams. I just don't know quality wise who's the better of the two there. For the sake of just going off of of games I've seen play, I would say that the group will probably go France, Netherlands, Austria, Poland.
See, I've got a sneaky feeling one of those two teams that we put in the bottom could spring a surprise. I don't know why. I
But
don't know why.
just to confirm, we have gone with Austria, Poland.
Yeah, that's fine by
Yes,
me.
I think so.
Cool. That's right, with the final predictions for Group D being France, the Netherlands, Austria, and then Poland. Moving on to Group E now, an interesting group of Ukraine, Slovakia this time, Belgium, and Romania. I don't know
Ooh.
where to begin with this group. Does anyone want to take the lead? It's
Slovakia.
real kettle of fish.
Slovakia. I think Slovakia are going to top the group. Don't ask me why.
Mm,
Belgium, I am bored. They're the new Spain in terms of everyone tips them, but they always flatter to deceive, and they've got an aging squad as well.
yeah.
Um,
I think the
so I
last
don't.
time they did. I think the last time they did well was the World Cup, wasn't it? And they finished third.
But I just don't fancy them. I think Slovakia. Um,
Their golden generation's gone. Belgium's. They're past
yeah,
it. Hazard's gone. Lukaku's aging. Kevin De
KDB,
Bruyne's
fabulous player, but he's not
yeah
gonna.
going on
He's
to
not
his
cut
last
out for tournament.
legs.
Yeah, he's not gonna. He's not gonna be able to do tournament football. Ukraine. I mean, they got to be everyone's second team, haven't they? Haven't they got to be
Mm,
everyone's second team? They're going to have
No,
a lot of goodwill behind them. So who did you say the last one was? AJ?
Romania.
Well, they've had some of the best. They've produced some of the best footballers Europe's ever seen. So I just know.
And
Slovakia,
now that and
Ukraine.
now that and now their kids are playing.
Yeah, yeah.
I
And Slovakia, Ukraine, Romania, Belgium.
Interesting. I still would have gone Belgium to top the group, but probably crash out in the round of 16. I would have had Belgium, Slovakia, Romania, and then Ukraine. I think the three teams are just a lot stronger than Ukraine are. Yes, Ukraine's going to have a lot of goodwill behind them. I just don't see them being a strong enough squad on paper. Goodwill can carry you sometimes, but I think it'll be difficult for them in this group. Ash, yourself?
I fully agree with you. Actually, I think Belgium aren't the squad they were, but I still think they're good enough to win this particular group. I think if they were in pretty much any other group, they'd really struggle.
Yeah,
But this group, I think they're strong enough to win. And then I the other three, they've all got a really good chance of qualifying in that second spot. I think this is one of the only groups that's going to be proper wide open into who could take that second place realistically. But the
yep.
only team I can see sort of taking that second place is Slovakia, with Romania coming third and then Ukraine bottom. But I
You
think it's
happy
going to
to
be
concede to that, Drew?
Hey, it's a democracy. If that's what you boys think, I'll go with that.
Great. And into the final group, Group F, Portugal, Czechia, Georgia, and Turkey. Uh, I'll start on this one. I think it will be Portugal, Czechia, Turkey, Georgia. I think Portugal are probably one of the favourites for the competition with the squad they've got at the moment. The fact that Cristiano Ronaldo is essentially going, I know he's old now and playing in a nobody league, but the fact that he's essentially a super sub for them shows the caliber of their squad at the moment. I think Czechia has still got a great squad and normally do have good players. They don't have that one world class talent like some other squads do, but they've got a strong general squad. Turkey always live off of vibes. They always someone's dark horse for the tournament. I don't know why. They always are. So I think that probably pushes them strong enough to come third. And I think Georgia are probably the weakest team in the tournament. Sorry, any Georgians.
yeah, yeah. I agree. I agree, but I'm going to be that guy. I I agree that Georgia are the weakest team. They'll come bottom. Portugal should win that group. Uh, I have just got a sneaking suspicion that Turkey might come second in that group. Um, I'm happy to be I'm happy to be outcalled by everybody else because I know Cheshire, Czech Republic, they got a good squad and they got some really good players. Um, I just got a sneaking suspicion that Turkey for some unknown reason, when it comes to big tournament football, they always manage to at least get out of the groups. And I'm going to go. And I've just got a strong feeling they might do. I think, as I say, I think Portugal will be too strong. They'll win the group. So for me, it'll be Portugal, Turkey, Cheshire, and then Georgia bottom.
Drew, you're the deciding vote. Then it's only between Turkey and Cheshire.
Yeah, I'm Portugal. You can't really look past them. Never go as deep as they should, but I think they'll top the group. I think the Czech Republic might do it. I think they might come second. But again, it's one of those. It's either or, isn't it? Really. I know that's an obvious statement to make. Georgia. Sorry to any Georgians watching, but I can't see you finishing any higher than fourth. But I think it's going to be Portugal, the Czech Republic, and then Turkey.
Yep.
I'm probably going to be completely wrong, but that's what I think it's going to be.
So we now need to pick 4 from the best of the third place teams. We have Switzerland, Spain, Denmark, Austria, Romania, and Turkey. Personally, I'm picking the top 4: Switzerland, Spain, Denmark, and Austria.
What were those teams again?
Switzerland, Spain, Denmark, Austria, Romania, and Turkey. Spain, I think, is probably our no-brainer, with them likely finishing on the same points as second place, but missing out on being an automatic through goal difference.
Yeah, I think I agree with you actually, AJ. To be fair, I don't. I think that I know I've just made the statement. I think Turkey might be strong and come through the group, but I am under the feeling that probably those 4 will do the best in their groups and therefore probably qualify as the better third place teams. But
Yeah.
it's quite close.
Drew, anything contradictory?
No, not really. Apart from Scotland are already 1-0 down.
Well, there you go. Scores live as they come, but you'll hear it a week late.
Yeah.
Right.
Breaking news:
Round-
Wednesday, 5 p.m. Scotland are losing.
We have the round of 16. We have Germany versus Serbia, Hungary versus Croatia, Italy versus Switzerland, England versus Austria, Portugal versus Denmark, the Netherlands versus Slovakia, Belgium versus Spain, and France versus Czechia. Let's start at the top. Germany versus Serbia. No brainer for everyone. I think Germany probably win that.
Yes.
Don't think it'll be an easy game, maybe a 2-1 or something like that, but I think it's foolish to say Serbia would probably beat the hosts in the round of 16.
Yeah, I've
Yeah, I
got no
agree.
issue with that.
Cool. Hungary versus Croatia. Tough one, but I'd probably odds my bets towards Croatia.
Yeah, no, me
Yeah.
too. I think Croatia are going to be a lot stronger than Hungary there. So yeah, I agree with that.
Italy, Switzerland. The Italian in me is saying Italy, but boys, I'll let you decide.
I think the football watcher in me is saying Italy.
Yeah, I don't think you can look past Italy there.
Nope. England, Austria. What are we saying? England.
England.
Cool. Portugal, Denmark. Interesting one.
Oh,
Very interesting one. Portugal are probably one of the favourites for the tournament. They've got a ridiculously strong squad, but they do have a manager I don't necessarily have much faith in. So it's a tough call for me. I'm gonna edge Portugal, but I'll let you boys decide.
No, I think Portugal should be too strong in that particular matchup. I think all of us are in agreement that Portugal are maybe dark horses for the tournament.
Dark
I say
horses.
dark horses.
They're one of the
Well,
odds
I say that
favourites.
I say that in the sense that most people are more confident that England, France, or
Yeah,
Italy will probably win it. I think they're too strong there, and I think Portugal go through.
Italy actually have lower odds than Portugal, funnily enough.
That does shock me a little bit.
Yeah. Portugal, Drew.
yeah, Portugal. Portugal definitely.
Yep.
He says.
Netherlands versus Slovakia.
No, the Dutch should be too good there.
Yeah, on paper the Dutch should, but
Let's just go with that then, and if we're wrong, we're wrong. As we
highly
said,
likely.
it depends which Netherlands show up, but we've already banked on the good Netherlands showing up and winning their group anyway, so you'd expect them to carry on showing up and beat Slovakia as well. Belgium, Spain, very tough game. If Belgium are anything like they have been in the last major tournament, once they got into the knockout rounds. But I think Spain edge it personally. I think coming in as the best third place team, they'll have something to prove, and I think they'll be looking to go far once they're in the knockout rounds. Spain in knockout competitions become a different beast than when they're in the groups.
That's true.
Yeah,
I
I'd
think I
agree.
agree with it in that sense.
I agree with that.
And then final round of 16 fixture is France versus Czechia. France
Versus the Czech
If they don't
Republic, it's
win
got
by
to be
5,
France.
they'll win. They'll win by 5. Yeah, go on.
Yeah.
It very much looks like the Jocks could lose by 5 because they're already 2-0 down.
There you go.
Yes.
Into the quarterfinals, and we have some very tough decisions to make. First off, we have Italy versus Germany.
Oh, that's a difficult one.
I have to back my boys and say Italy, but it's tough to argue the hosts wouldn't get past.
I think Germany in Germany is a different beast. I think we saw this with England in the last Euros, where these games were all being held at Wembley. That it's a definite boost being at home there. I like Italy, and I know that obviously you're going to rep Italy no matter what, Jack, because obviously being half
Yep.
Italian. But I think Germany win that.
Drew, you're the deciding vote.
Yeah, so I think this Italian team's on the rise. But
it's funny you say that because a lot of people think we're on the decline. They think that our best years have gone past us and that we won the last Euros just through sheer management. But I think it's a combination of both. I think it's that we had a great manager last time round. We now have a great manager and a developing squad. But
I don't know. I mean, I'd probably pick Germany simply on the basis that the Germans in Germany are a different kettle of fish.
I'm happy to concede that to you boys. Portugal versus Netherlands.
Can we get odds on 22 players staying on the pitch?
Yeah, that's a difficult one, isn't it? I think that again, that's a really tough game to pick. I think going off the basis that I've got real good feeling about Portugal in this tournament, that I think they'd be too strong.
It's arguably one of the best attacks in the tournament versus one of the best defenses in the tournament. The Netherlands have probably one of the strongest defenses in the entire tournament, where Portugal have a ridiculous attacking outlet. But what I think could hinder Portugal is the fact that they're starting a 42-year-old Pepe.
A 42-year-old Pepe who loves a red card. If he hasn't got a ban by this point in the tournament, I'll be shocked.
Yeah.
See, this is very difficult because a lot of it depends on who's actually still playing at this point. In terms of individual players, doesn't it?
Yep.
Flipping hell. I'll go with Portugal because it's a 50-50 really.
Yeah, I'm going to lean towards Portugal. I think their attack will probably outdo Netherlands' defence, and then Netherlands won't have much to counter off of. You thought the last one was hard. Spain versus France.
France.
No, it's not that hard for France to win that.
I was trying to be nice to the Spanish that might be watching, but sorry, Spain. France have it. England versus Croatia as the final quarterfinals.
Well, England should have enough to beat Croatia, but this is England, so who knows? I would say
that game might suit England. I think that game might suit England. Actually, I'd fancy. I think we win that. I'd rather be playing them than some like the Dutch or the Portuguese.
And I think this is probably where England's story unfolds here. England versus France in the semi-finals.
Well,
I don't think we're strong enough in defence. I don't think we're strong enough in defence to beat France.
No.
I think that France are one of those teams that, like Portugal, are very, very good going forward. Maybe not as good at the back, but way better than Portugal are at the back. I just don't think England. I just don't think England have enough. I just don't think England have enough defensively to cope with France's attack.
I also don't think we take the game to them. I think we see France in the semi-finals. We our pants a little bit. Yes, you're going to have to beep that one, Daniel. We shit our pants a little bit. We play ultra defensive football. We let them have the ball and ultimately crucify ourselves through it instead of playing like the potential favourites that we are with the ridiculous amount of talent that we do. I think we go back to prime Southgate football and shoot ourselves in the foot, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I agree with Ash. I don't think that. I mean, we covered the England squad last week. We all raised our concerns about our defensively our lack of cover at left back. Our quickest defender, Walker, is not as quick as Mbappe.
No.
Going back to Southgate, but I mean, I've got no real issues with Southgate. I mean, my biggest problem is that in the Euro final against Italy, I still maintain that they didn't win it; we lost it because we retreated. I don't think. I mean, the alternative, if we don't go at France, we sit back and we try and hit them on the break, I guess. But as it's already been pointed out, I don't think our defence is as strong as their attack.
No.
The flip side is, then we get involved in a shootout. Do we not? We just hope we can score more goals than them. I mean, I think on balance, I'd probably go at them and just think, what have we got to lose? And understand that
I would do.
if we're playing a high line, inevitably we are going to get scorched at some point, simply because we've got no one that can keep up with Mbappe.
I think if we genuinely went into a competition with France of who can score more goals and completely opened up the game, I think we could actually win that, because our attacking talent is ridiculous, especially with the likes of Kane, Bellingham, Foden. There is real reason for France to be scared of our attacking players. If we drop half the squad, play a defensive team, have Gallagher out wide and stuff like that to double up on Mbappe, they are going to lick their lips, because it's exactly what they'll want, just to attack for 90 minutes. So yeah, I'm picking France because I don't see us playing the way I want us to against them. Please prove me wrong, England.
Yes, 100%, 100%.
With that in mind, the other half of the semi-finals is Germany versus Portugal.
It's a game, that, isn't it?
That is a proper. Who am I saying?
I'm gonna have to go with the hosts personally.
Yeah, I think I'm likely to do that as well.
Yeah, I
me
think
too.
Portugal have the better squad. I think Germany have the better manager, and I think home territory is just going to reign trump. To be fair, this could be a penalty shootout quite easily.
The thing about the Germans is they're so disciplined. They're so disciplined, and they are. We know how good they are at tournament football. I don't dispute
they've
the fact
they've come off the back of a few years of bad tournament previous bad tournaments, and they're going to want to prove themselves at home. So
yeah, I know how prodigiously talented the Portuguese are, but I mean at this stage, I mean we're talking about. I mean everything could change with suspensions, with injuries, but all things being even, I would go with Germany.
Havertz versus Pepe could be a funny one to watch, though.
Yeah, ironically enough, I mean Havertz. I mean he's much maligned. I mean I think the Portuguese should be grateful that Muller isn't in his prime and playing.
Yeah,
42-year-old Pepe. I can still hear the collective gasps in the Euros when Sterling gave the ball away to him and he went running towards our goal. I would have bet my mortgage that he was going to score then. Every Englishman or every English person, heart in mouth time. But
I don't know about heart in mouth time. I think it was more poop in pants time.
Are we all pipping Germany then?
Yeah,
I think
we're
so.
all picking, I think we're picking the Germans.
So the final, and to conclude this episode of Full-On, the winners of the UEFA Euro 2024 will be Germany or France.
France.
Yeah, head says France. Head said
France.
just
France it is. There you
yeah.
go. There you go, ladies, gentlemen, non-binaries, and everyone else that enjoys our content. Thank you for watching and or listening, and we'll see you in the next one. Ciao.